My parents treat the women in our family like second-class citizens, so we're fighting back. In my family, women were sent to isolation huts the moment they started bleeding. No contact, no conversation, just rice pushed through a slot twice a day. You were unclean, they said. Your presence would contaminate the men. I was 13 when I first entered the bleeding house. We only went to school 3 days a week, always scheduled around our cycles so no one would notice the pattern of absences. 7 days in complete darkness with only a bucket for a toilet. The smell alone made me vomit. By day 3, I was burning with fever from a pain. I later found it was a UTI LOL that spread to my kidneys. I begged through the slot for medicine, for water, for anything. My father slid in extra rice and told me suffering would make me pure. When they finally let me out, I could barely walk. The hospital doctor asked why I'd waited so long to come in. I almost died, she said. Another day and my kidneys would have shut down. And while I lay in the hospital bed, I wasn't going to waste my one opportunity of freedom. So I did what any normal teenage girl would do and picked up every brochure I could find. What I read was so shocking my eyes nearly popped out of my head, because that was the first time I learned about health codes, about how isolation without medical care was actually illegal, about what my family called tradition, the law called neglect. But I couldn't just call CPS. They'd take all us kids, split us up. I needed a different plan. I started researching online at the library, learned that vitamin C and parsley tea could induce periods early, that women living together often synced up their cycles naturally. That's when the idea hit me. Every month I started making tea, lots of tea. I taught my cousins and sisters the recipe during cooking lessons, showed them how to track their cycles on calendars hidden in recipe books. Within 6 months, I had 15 women syncing their periods to hit at the same time. The men never saw it coming. Suddenly they had 15 bleeding women, but only 6 isolation huts. While they scrambled to figure out who got locked up first, the rest of us were free. That's when phase 2 started. The women whose periods we'd delayed by a week suddenly had 7 days of complete freedom. They took GED classes at the community center, practiced driving in the church parking lot, went to job interviews at the mall. We got bolder. I taught them to extend their bleeding with theater blood. Just a few drops on a pad bought them extra days. Some girls were bleeding for 2 weeks straight while actually working part-time jobs, saving money in accounts their fathers didn't know existed. We kept calendars hidden everywhere, behind toilet tanks, inside tampon boxes, sewn into the lining of purses. 23 women's cycles mapped out like military operations. We knew exactly who would bleed when, who needed coverage for a job interview, who had a driving test scheduled, and for 2 years, it worked perfectly. Girls who'd never left the house alone were getting their licenses. Women who'd never touched money were building savings, all during their unclean time. Then the water bill came. My father stared at it during dinner, his face getting redder with each second. It was triple our normal usage. He started investigating immediately, checked every pipe, every faucet, convinced we had a leak. It took him 3 days to figure it out. 3 days of following the smell of boiling herbs, of noticing how many women were brewing tea at odd hours. He found me in the kitchen at midnight, teaching my 13-year-old cousin the recipe, calendars spread across the table, red marks tracking every woman's cycle, tea bags and vitamin C tablets lined up like evidence. You're making them bleed on purpose, he said, voice deadly quiet. I stood up slowly, meeting his eyes. Behind him, I could see my cousin memorizing the recipe, her lips moving silently. Even if he stopped me, she knew. They all knew. No, I said. I'm making them free. The beating came swift and hard. 1, 2, 3.